everybody. Welcome to today's special session with ASIFA-South on our online focus. We're so excited here that we're going to have a special speaker to chat with you guys. And our special speaker today is no other than the awesome character designer, David Perez. David Perez has worked on so many different shows, so many different things, on Netflix, on YouTube, and whatnot as well, too. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little introduction. David will tell you a little bit about his journey, what makes him a good character designer. We'll do a little bit of sketch, and you can also ask your questions in the chat on the side. But after we finish with our presentation, because David's gonna just chat and draw as well too, and show a little bit tips of tricks. We would love for the audiences, you guys either in the YouTube following our stream can add in some comments, or you guys over here on our Discord channel, you can raise up your hand at the end, and then we can bring you up on stage. So that way you can, do a little chat, talk to David, tell him about your journey and what tips or tricks David has. And then David will also talk about his Kickstarter book, which is going to be packed full of goodies with character tips and tricks as well too. So David, thank you so much for being here today. Would you mind, introducing yourself and everything?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's David Perez. I'm a character designer in TV and feature animation. Do you want me just to kind of go down the line of how things kind of came about? Okay. Well, I started out not really drawing as a kid. I used to sketch a little and copy skateboards, World Industries, if anybody's familiar with that, Wet Willie and Flame Boy. Then I moved over and transitioned into graffiti. Graffiti is a very different type of art, and it started turning into a really bad thing. Then I went to college. I was going to be a fireman, and I dropped out of the academy the day before it started. And I had to draw. So I used to go to life drawing at a junior college in California called Mount Sac. And I was going there for about 60 hours a week, just doing life drawing with no idea what animation was at that time, actually. And there is a place over here called the Animation Guild that teaches life drawing and some character stuff and animating. And I still thought at that time everything was done on the computers. So I took a class with a gentleman named Carl Ganes. Yeah, oh my goodness, I can imagine. Um, and he showed me some drawings and talked about a person named Glenn Keane. So I kept that name. I wrote it down. We didn't have cell phones, not to the point where we had the internet like that. And I was still playing, Centipede on the flip phone. So I went and attended a life drawing class with my teacher. His name's Joe Weatherly, and Joe told me about a person named David Coleman, he's also a big designer as well. I went to go take an animal drawing class with him, and I met someone named Chris Heller, and I used to go draw with her all the time at the zoo. And we would just talk about animals and how they worked and, their locomotion and personalities. And I still didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I need to learn how to draw animals. I need to learn how to draw the person. I'll figure it out in time. Well, I picked up some books from Barnes. They were called Drawn to Life. And they have been like my Bibles to me. And I found Chris Heller's name in there. And I called her up right away. And I had lots of questions, as you never told me you worked at Disney for the last 25 years. I found out she was the cleanup artist for Glen Keane. She was the one that helped open the door to me that I didn't need to transfer over to an art school for myself to make it happen and get in the door somewhere. And she inspired me just to get very hungry and let me know that the doors could be open if I was willing to learn. So I was having a kid and I had to drop out of school because I was broke. And then I started writing a bunch of people, and I came into contact with a old school 2D animator named Mario Menjivar. And he was out in New York at the time. So he agreed to get on Skype with me. I wrote him my story. He empathized with me and he trained me for 3 months on how to become a 2D animator. That's after Chris Heller. I started looking into Glen Keane. And I was like, this looks fascinating. So, but Mario, he told me he'll train me, and we did a lot of work. And I was confident enough to um, I was never afraid to put myself out there, and that's one of the hugest things I've learned throughout the last 10 years is to be aggressive, but not to the point where you're annoying someone, but let people know you exist. Because it does matter. People are paying attention. And luckily, with my crazy graffiti background, I was pretty bold to try things out. So, snuck into a Disney party with my buddy, Aaron, over at CTN that they were holding, and we pulled out Andreas Deja, and I showed him my work, and gave me his contact, and that eventually led me to animating on Mushka with him. And then, but during this time, I also went to CTN. This all at that same event, I showed the wrong person my portfolio, which was Ed Scudder. He's the head of story at Illumination on the Mario movie, where he was, and he went and handed my work to someone else. But this is also another thing. You never know. It could take just one person to get a hold of your work and share it with someone that can get you somewhere. So he showed it to someone named Nick Butera. Nick was at a studio called Six Point Harness. And Nick contacted me about 3 months later to do an animation test. And I didn't know how to use Photoshop. I was still strictly paper and pencil. I was still figuring everything out. So I asked if I could do the test on paper, and I got hired to go work on Monster High. That was my first project, and it was to do character layout or special poses and props. And I went in and I knew that there was a bunch of different avenues and things you can do: storyboards, you can do props, you can do characters, you can animate. And they told me that they would have someone train me in Photoshop in for 2 weeks, and they did. And within the first week, though, I found out we were getting the SpongeBob movie. I went over to my boss's office and I was like, I have no idea how to animate on Harmony, but I will learn. I will stay late. I can work on this. And they gave me that chance too. In the second movie, if you see the seagulls cursing in the rap battle, I got to do that. That was kind of fun. So it was a crazy journey, but eventually I learned something else: how to properly sit in your chair and not to rest your arm on the desk or your armrest, because I ended up pinching my nerve in my elbow, and it put me out for 9 months. And I was doing cleanup work on a show called Three Caballeros. That was, I don't know where it went, but we were working on it at the time. So I couldn't get back into Six Point at that point, and things got really hard. And I wanted to still animate, but at that time at Six Point, I was kind of touching base on everything: order visions, props, characters, some animating, rigging, the whole thing. I wanted to be a 2D animator. I found out Disney just closed their doors. I ended up 2 years in a row, they were taking in 6 people for 2D. I ended up seventh on that list twice, and then they stopped it completely. So I did what everybody would do. I started a LinkedIn and I wrote over 200 people like a crazy person, asking for a way to get my work seen and how to get me back into a door somewhere else. And one person wrote me back, and that was actually Joe Mosier.
Wow.
And Joe ended up taking me under his wing. He recommended me to Sony. I got there, and then that just kind of everything just went uphill from there. I ended up over at Warner later, leading the DC Superhero Girl show with Lauren Faust. And I found out a friend of mine on the project knew Craig Kelman. So I eventually, during that time, I stopped working with Joe. And then I started working with Craig. I wrote him an email. Me and him got lunch, and we just understood each other. And then he took me over to DreamWorks eventually. But, and then right now I'm over at Disney, Disney Motion Pictures. I can't say what I'm working on, but hopefully soon. But I promise everyone will be very excited about this project. So that is kind of how things came to be. There's a lot of other little tiny subtle things that have happened in my story that are a little crazy, but if there's like one of the the biggest things I've learned is to make relationships, communicate with everybody, put your work in front of people. Don't be scared. Don't ever be scared. Get on LinkedIn, Instagram, any kind of social media, and just write everybody. Because all you need is one person to help you, and it could change everything. And it
That
did.
that's amazing, David. I think that's like a fantastic story you have here. I was just gonna quickly say that we do have like some really quick comments from some folks here as well too. That was just talking about like, wow, a firefighter by
Yeah,
night. That is amazing.
I
I
wanted
think
to.
yeah. So yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say that wasn't that really hard and difficult because I think for a lot of people too, it's really disheartening to try to get into art full time, especially with the whole economy, the whole field, and everything right now too. How do you keep yourself like not going under in a mentally crazy way at this time of the period of time?
You have to just keep creating. There's a good commencement talk I listen to about twice a year. A commencement speech is by Neil Gaiman, called "Make Good Art," and it's just we just have to keep making. I've had a lot of friends that have just fallen apart. Some who moved, some who've just quit completely and they're done. But right now, I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. It's mentally exhausting. And if you need a real good kicker, which is something I do all the time, I put on the movie Whiplash, and that always tends to straighten me right out.
Definitely. And I think Irie also on our Discord channel asked, do you have any advice for what it's like to write in a cold email to an industry professionals, especially like right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I usually try to keep it very simple. For the subject line, I usually write work availability question mark. There's not just necessarily a need because if they see it, they're like, well, maybe I got a job offer too, and they end up opening it. But I I try not. This is gonna sound kind of weird. I try not to also sound too professional because I've done that, and it comes off not genuine. You just have to kind of be yourself, but keep it really short. Just hi, how are things going? I'm just, I'm currently available, and I wanted to know if you had anything available for storyboard artists, character designers, whatever it might be. You know, then just attach your resume and portfolio, password if needed, and just say, and always thank them. Thank you, or I appreciate your time, and that's it.
Yeah.
Sign off
So
with your name, but very simple.
yeah. So what do you think that you know now as a character designer that you would wish you would have told yourself when you first got started?
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, learn. Oh, well, this was the biggest one. Luckily, I caught on the first couple years was learn how to take advice. That was one of the biggest ones. Um, I think when you go in, anybody going in, it's like I made it, and I know what I'm doing, and you don't kind of want to hear anything. But it's a very collaborative thing. It's a team effort. It's not a solo project, and I've had certain incidents where that has occurred. To be honest, but I learned the hard way, and I learned quick.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you want to show us a little bit of like, when you're designing a character, how do you kind of get started into it? If somebody tells you, hey, can you create a character for me for a particular show? Do you have some kind of routine you go through?
Well, if it's TV, it's very different than feature. Feature, it's about the script, so it has to be very specific because that's our main purpose is to serve the story. I mean, even if you were to look at something like Shrek, I mean, no offense to Shrek, but he's kind of ugly. But the story is what matters first and foremost. You can have something that looks very pretty, but if it's not serving the story, then it won't matter. So to be whatever kind of drawing that you are creating, I will always try to look at my drawing from at least an outside perspective and see if it feels, if there's a feeling I get that I got when I read the script. So if I don't have that same feeling, because I've learned over time, over 10 years, it's become a very emotional thing and not just a very oh, that's a nice drawing or a good design. I don't even want to hear that in reviews. I want to hear something where it's touching someone or if they laugh. If I can make someone laugh, I think I hit the mark, which is very hard to do. For TV, though, it's very different. So you only get to really design a lot of projects if you're the lead. That's when you kind of get to set the style. But if you're just a designer on the team, you might get some incidentals, and usually those might get based off of someone's storyboards who will give you a rough idea of what that would be. I haven't seen anything too crazy specific though. If you're just a designer on a TV project, it's usually boards directing that.
Ah, that's cool. Uh, That's awesome. So I think what about if you were to, submit a portfolio right now, like you said, in the beginning in your portfolio resume, what kind of things would you have done to be a little bit more competitive and give you an advantage if you're competing with everybody submitting the portfolio? And what do you think you would like to see if somebody submitted a portfolio to you?
Oh, okay. So that's a great question, actually. When I was at Warner Brothers, we were actually, so I had 10, 12 people, I think, on my team. It was a really big project. And at one point, we needed someone else for our character team. We had two clean up, the rest were all designers. And we put out a call, and I had to go through 420 portfolios. I can tell you at the end, we tested 25 people, and we only hired one. And it was really strict, but there was something very specific that we were looking for. It wasn't just draftsmanship, it was coming back to this sense of feeling. We needed people to convey a certain emotion when they drew. I had the ability, I believed at that time, where I could take my time. I would go sit with people and have them come to my desk or whatever I needed to do to get them to learn how to draw the style of the show, which was it's already tough as it was, but feeling. So when it comes down to portfolios, from what I've learned from that, not just having feeling or a specific style, it depends. In feature, I believe it's about, I think 90%, 85, 90% should just be conceptual art, ideas. They want to know how you think, not necessarily just how good you draw. Or if you paint, I don't even paint much. That hasn't never been like a thing that has held me down. It's just, do you have good ideas? And then and I mean, you can throw in maybe one turn, two turns. I mean, in feature, I've only seen anybody really do a front, a three-quarter front, and a profile for a turn. And then some poses just in case, because, if you go down production. But for TV, it's very different. Maybe, I mean, you can do like 15-page max. Just a couple pages will be conceptual art, your ideas. But you want to show that you can draw in different styles. And then you want a lot of post sheets. That's like, because that's the majority of things you'll end up doing on a TV project. Then maybe 5 turns. Um, Maybe some mouth charts. You might need something like that because that's very production oriented. That's it's very specific because you're we're sending everything overseas now, or we have been, but we're doing it even more now. So everything needs to be very exact. But they want to just know that you can hit the ground running. TV's fast and features it's very slow. So it's a very collaborative over here in feature and TV. It's as soon as you start, here you go. Here's your work. Yeah, you better know how to do everything.
Yeah. Do you think most people would rather see a lot on the portfolio realism or stylization? What do you feel like have been like maybe one or two example of a portfolio that you've seen that has really stood out to you?
Oh, that's that's tough. Well, it depends on where you're applying. Well, so that's the thing. TV, you want to be a chameleon and draw a bunch of different styles, and then feature is just your ideas. I mean, it does really come down to that. Um, hmm. Yeah, portfolios that have stood out. I mean, from other than people that are already working professionally, I mean, I really do only go back to a couple people who have inspired me in their work, which is Craig Kelman, Joe Mosier, Tony Saruno, and Chris Sasaki. I believe those are probably like the four on my list, and very specifically too, because I think like Chris Sasaki, he understands simplicity and appeal very well. I think he's somewhere in that range with Joe Mosier. Joe Mosier, they call him like the king of cute. I mean, when he was at Disney, he just knew how to make things very, very, very freaking cute. And then, I mean, Tony's just a solid draftsman, and he can draw in any style. And then you got Craig Kelman, who will teach you that it's okay to go near the edge of the cliff, push yourself, push your ideas, and aim for something that's genuine, raw, and truthful. Um, that Craig has sat with me, I think, more than anybody, just mentally on just what I'm capable of doing.
Huh.
I haven't seen a lot of portfolios though now, um, because everyone seems like they're pulling from the same pot,
Mm-mm.
and so it's very hard. And that's one of the things I always tell people is draw. I know it sounds crazy. You always hear draw from life, but there's a truth in there. And what I mean by that is there was a time I asked Craig, I will bug him all the time. I'll send him a text or call him. And I asked him about sleeves, some sleeve design. I don't know why I did. It was ridiculous. Just a very fundamental type of thing, but I was curious about this. And he told me, well, when you look at it like someone's sleeve and it's folding, just draw what it is that you feel, your first impression. Follow that first impression and go with that. And then just draw that because that's your truth. And over time, you'll learn different shortcuts or shorthands on how you do things or what you find appealing. And that like sat with me very deeply. And I think a lot of people forget that we are entertaining. So how do you view things yourself? Not trying to make it for someone else. It's almost act as if no one else on earth existed and
Mm.
just you. What would you do?
Exactly. And I think of Jennifer Perez says hi on YouTube. She's
Oh,
watching.
does she?
Yes. Yes. And could you show us like a little bit of your drawing? Like, like you said, draw from life, right? If you're drawing like now, like, pull out your little drawing digital pad and show us how you would go about and do that. Yes, we can absolutely see that.
Let's see. What can we draw? I'm just gonna start drawing then,
Okay.
because I don't really know where I'm going with this. I guess we'll just start with a head. I guess we'll start with some head drawing. I was drawing Lex Luthor the other day.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll go there.
And I feel like a lot of people spend a lot of time on heads versus like the rest of the body as well too. Is there any part of the body other than like the head that you really are drawn to or think could be explored a lot in character design?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat
Oh
that?
yes, sorry, no worries. I said that a lot of times, sometimes when people first get started, they focus on the head, like as a drawing. But do you think there's any other parts of the bodies that you feel could be pushed more in character design generally, or any parts of the body that you really love exploring?
Oh no, I love the faces. Well, because it's always the first thing we look at.
Hmm.
And I always give that example. If you're in a car and you're passing by someone, the first thing you look at is the other person's eyes and the car passing you by. It's just it's that place we empathize with. Um, the windows to the soul.
Definitely.
But I mean, but anything could be pushed. It's just understanding how to pull it apart and then how to put it back together. So I mean, like for instance, um, here, like if even a leg. So if I had like I know this is just like a quick drawing, but say there was a leg here, leg. I could even turn it up. It's like, okay, well, I know that there's a simple shape there somewhere. I know that the leg is going to split right in the middle. Sorry, the thing's trying to get me to switch to a mic. So the joint will happen right in the middle. Same thing, leg to arm with the elbow. Um, you don't want that higher. It's kind of just a simple basic rule. But as much as well, I know that that's where it will bend, but I know it's just two joints connecting. Now, with the human leg here, there's always a natural rhythm. You have this. I could make that as straight if I wanted to. I'm just going all the way down. So it's like this S, but using basic design rules of, you have tapers, you have the straights and curves, you have like rhythm, curve to curve. You could even use straight to straight. Tapers could also go up. So it's coming to a point somewhere. But like this, though, parallels, that's one thing you want to avoid unless it's for the story. I can explain that though. So, sorry. Let me take this back over here. I just realized how fast my brain is starting to, or trying to connect all these dots. And okay, use this brush. What was that? Okay. So if I were to copy this, because I already have the base here, just a basic shape that tapers. So if I wanted to start adding design to it using, what the hell's that? There you go. Using these principles and keeping, oh, where'd that thing go? Oops, I don't know where that went, but like, okay. So just like an idea of a leg. If I wanted to keep that as straight and pull this out, I could. I could do this to make this even bigger. Know that the joint's happening there. This will go up somewhere else. But I mean, as long as that base is there and I'm using these same principles, these design principles, I could change the shape however I want.
Ooh, like
So
variations.
this could be, yeah, yeah, variations. So I don't want this line here to parallel that one. Even looking at this, I can make it even simpler. This like just straight curve instead of that break right here in the plane. Or you can just go really simple straights and curves. I mean, the rules are all still there. But yeah, variation. It's one line plane against the opposite line. So this one would be a straight, and then this would be a curve. And this line here is bouncing off of this one at like an angle. I can even bring this lower. So we got a tilt there. So we have this would end up tapering somewhere, but they're asymmetrical lines. Nothing is paralleling.
Mm.
Only time you want to parallel is, say you have a design. If you had a story with the world's boringest person, maybe this would work.
Huh.
Why? It's because this, this, this. Like everything starts to get very even. It's late. It's gonna look a little more. So depending on story, it's whatever our drawings are doing. They need to serve that purpose
Mm.
of the script or whatever we make up.
Great.
Otherwise, if you have like a design, like this already is too interesting compared to this. If it was like a chef or whatever it might be. Does he have? See, and this is like the thing. It's like everything should be so specific. Because if I was drawing a chef, and we'll just do a front view. Sorry, these drawings are going to be very crude.
As they should be.
But yeah, nothing is perfect, but it's storytelling, the idea. And hopefully this helps just explain these things. So, um, whatever this guy's doing. Could have just copied, pasted this, but like my brain's just, it's gone. So most people are like, okay, draw chef. You might right away get this hat. Sure, a lot of people go directly to that hat. Well, why though? Because this is something I did. I got this assignment from Craig Kelman, and I drew a hat like that, and he was like, "Why does he have that hat?" And I'm like, "I was not expecting that question." And it's something so simple. It's just a hat. It's, a chef's hat. And he's like, "Well, because the assignment was to draw like the cast that would be working at a mediocre restaurant."
Mm.
And he's like, he might not have that hat. Maybe he has, like a hairnet.
Mm.
But if he did have the hat, maybe he lived in Italy and he was a really good chef and something happened. He moved over here to the States and he wears the hat as a reminder. He's like, it has to be thought out that much. There needs to be a reason why it is that they do something or wear something, because it's not what you wear, it's, how you wear it. But there needs to just be a whole line of where these things are coming from, a purpose,
The
not just
thoughts,
doing
right?
things to do them.
Yeah.
So even with this, I use this example too. Is like, if you're doing a chef, because this is one of the assignments I would give as well.
Mm.
Is like, all right, if you have a drunk, say this chef was in Italy and he got caught stealing recipes and he's not allowed to cook there no more, and he gets kicked out, has to come to the States, and he gets into alcohol because his whole life's ruined because he was stealing recipes. And I was like, what is the first thing you would do? Like, where can you go to some very simple idea to help as your starting point? This is what I do all the time. So I would go to something like this. Or I can even put a little skull on it. You have your alcohol bottle. So if I were to start maybe even designing the chef, I can go to that same place, legs together, and just dress them up accordingly.
Alcohol bottle shaped. Wow.
So, but once he's dressed, I mean, he could have one of those very cliche looking, you know, a hairnet on him or something. But sorry, it's just a really, really rough doodle. I mean, he could be holding some or whatever. You know, just drawing a little circle. He has his, you know, this is very rough. I'm not concerned about it looking like a pretty drawing. I need to get
Idea.
the idea out. But even looking at it, it doesn't look like a alcohol bottle
Mm.
anymore. And if I were to even, get rid of this, it just looks like a really weird shape. But there's a reason why I started at that point. And I do this all the time. I try to, especially in feature, I will try to find something that can sit in someone's subconscious so
Mm.
that way you can't um like it's so in your face, it's something that's just overlooked. It's like it's too obvious. You just tend to overlook it. But from a distance, maybe in a lineup, the shape will be very prominent and it might stand out. But
Absolutely. If anybody wants
oh
to give David a idea of a celebrity or a character to draw, let us know as well too. So that way we can have like a little mini prompt. Let's see. But I know, David, initially you were drawing, was it Lex Luthor?
yeah, oh yeah. I was let me yeah, I don't it was just messing around with this very big shape. And from this, I've learned like um, these are going to be very crude. So let's see. There was a lot of things I figured out while trying to draw him the other day. Was he doesn't feel like he needs a big chin. I don't really remember the drawings I was doing the other day.
I see thick eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I could probably make him thicker. Like okay, I want him to feel like a little crazy.
I like the exaggeration of like, caricaturizing characters, pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, we should, we should try to find a way to make it entertaining. Um, I mean, I've done the whole thing where it's like this. I see these heads a lot. And there's nothing wrong with it. Oh, whatever the one really thick eyelash shape. Everyone's very inspired by you know, Ariel or Disney and
The classic shape, right?
yeah, yeah, the classic shape. But I mean, it works. Look at Frozen. I mean, they made a ton of money. So, but I I like to get on projects and then if I can do what to be honest, what Kelman has done is give ideas to show just how far certain things can go.
Mm.
I think it's fascinating because I still believe that there's a whole other world to animation that still hasn't been touched, especially for with like humans. I mean, I can't think of a project of the humans being pushed to a point where they're just really exaggerated. I mean, like Spider-Verse though is still, I mean, it's they're graphic, they're very complex. It's very almost like hyper realistic in a way. Then you have like maybe Hotel Transylvania, but that's like starting to push in the cartoony place as well. So it's like how far can this all go still? But people need to then learn how to pull these things apart and put them together so they can start to push themselves. Because it's very tiny, at least in this world, for who runs it. A lot of the old school people, they still run the game
Mhm.
for animation, or especially film. And there's a lot more people now, especially the younger generation, who's coming in and now taking these things, but they're all stealing from that same area. So it's like either go back, steal from the masters, or find out who's running the game now and try to take what they know. You know, it's like Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal. It's like steal what they know so you can stand on their shoulders so we can push it a little further. But
Definitely. So
it's
when
where to look.
so when you were working on some of these projects, like you said, Supergirl, was there anything while you were working that you were like learning and going like, oh wow, new things that you were learning along the way? Like, can you demonstrate something?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. EC Girls was when I first had this small it was like a light that was kind of flickering, but it didn't really dawn on me until I was on Clone High. And I looked back and I was like, oh my goodness. We had a huge how to draw model pack for DC Girls. And when we were giving people the test to bring on someone, we would give them the whole packet. And it was overwhelming to say the least. And after we hired that one person, later down the line, we ended up bringing on another person. And I remember telling the production, I was like, the production assistant that was going to give him the test, I was like, don't give him the packet. Send them a turn, and that's it. And tell them to use that. Because what they end up
Ooh.
doing is they stop thinking about design principles and
Mm.
the flat and graphic and simple versus complex and straights and the whole thing. It was just basic volumetric drawing. And they nailed it. And we brought them on. And it was like, there's something there. And I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't understand it. So on um, Lone High, I still remember this. My goodness. There was this design. All right, let's see. I think she might be falling forward. What her other arm is doing. It doesn't even matter at that point. Okay, so she has long hairs. So this drawing had over the center line. You can see that things were still connected. I mean, this was like drawn through. It was like you could see the tube. You could see the planes. Everything was still volumetrically drawn. And there's a drawing over it that took out these lines. So there was no overlap there. It was just flat. There was no overlap here. It was just flat. And it's just, I learned that it was just a lot of straights are used to flatten things. But there's still volumetric drawing underneath because this thing still has to rotate in space. So if you really want to flatten things, you can also just have them streamlined. And what I mean by that is like this or this. So this is an old rule from Emperor's New Groove, which I found from Mosier, was like if I have an arm, whatever that hand's doing, doesn't even matter. Say I had, oops, wait, I think I need to draw that. Copy, paste. Okay. So if you have this, say it's a sleeve, long sleeve, this will flatten it. This immediately flattens your drawing. But if you have this, it could be that extension of like a tube. Well, you know what? I just realized the best way to explain it. Nah, it's all good. Okay, we'll go the opposite way. Tube. You'll see people that do things like this. And there's this. My hand's totally messed up. Please ignore that. This works. It could start to get flat though, because there's no volume that we're seeing around the form. This, though, in the middle, indicates that there's movement because both sides are now lifted. But if you want a graphic half volumetric type drawing, it would be something like this.
Mm.
One side is streamlined, and then the other side shows what's happening inside. So it's a cheat, but it was something that actually Joe got from Milk Hall, and he would do it all the time. So
Wow.
you can still play on this graphic volumetric type of idea. So even coming over to like this drawing in the middle, even with the skirt, even if you pulled off one side like that, now it's still graphic because this side over here is streamlined all the way down. Now this breaks up shapes. So there's now it feels like there's some type of volume because it looks like the body's shoved up into a shape somehow.
Definitely.
So it's a weird trick, but it works.
So we have two comments here. One was from Thomas Duval, who asked if you can draw a stern kindergarten teacher posed. And also, Patty from our Discord was asking, "Hey David, it's awesome seeing you draw live. I'm wondering how you draw from life. Do you usually try to push and stylize the people and animal as well?"
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. The kindergarten teacher. Okay, I will start. Um, get 1 sec. Okay, gotta think about that. Um,
Walk us through.
yeah. And then also the push and stylize people, animals as well. When I used to draw like with a sketchbook out in life, because I had the whole 2D animator background, I was interested in their acting, their mannerisms, and what they would do instead of just learning their faces and trying to caricaturize those things. I didn't do that a lot. I was, I'd be at, this is no joke. This is very dangerous. I don't ever recommend it, but I'd be like at red lights and I'd pull out my sketchbook if I saw someone standing on the side or how they would be sitting like on a bike. But my sketches were almost like stick figures, um, whatever they were doing. And if you had like a bike and he had whatever it was, he looks like he'll fall over. His head's here and his hands are here, and maybe he's looking over somewhere. And I did a lot of drawings, but they were a little more refined than that. So, but they were very quick. 'Cause I wanted to see how people behaved. And I've learned this actually has helped me more than just sitting around caricaturizing people, because I can also just pull up a photo of someone or look up interesting people or type in Walmart people. You'll always find someone interesting there. So, but this helped with poses. Oh, I love to draw poses. That's like, it's one of my favorite things to do. It might be the whole animator thing talking, but just to like to crawl into their head and try to figure out what they would do that makes them specifically them. Oh, that's so fun. And this has helped with that. But there's also other little things you can pick up from um, this, which will help you with poses, like looking for asymmetry as well. And even when you're practicing sketching, it's almost like tying your shoe. Over time, these things will start to become intuitive. So if I were to even like start messing with this, I might bring up this arm just a little. The reason why is I want I don't want the arms twinning unless there's a reason for it. I might bring one down and then bring the other up. I want this this arm to do something different than that one. I don't want things moving in the same way
Mm.
direction. I want things to break up.
Yeah, because it's
So
breaking up the form, right? And also it's more interesting too, I think.
yeah, it definitely makes poses more interesting unless you need to use it to guide like line of action. If there's a character that's it's a really big arm, but if they're holding something, then maybe this leg will be here and this one will be here, and maybe that one's pulled straight down. So this could lead compositionally all the way up here because that's the main focal point. But if I had like a character who was holding on to a pole, maybe chest out or something, you know. So this all just starts to happen naturally, but this line is moving just a little different than that one. Then this one's going up at that angle compared to this one. I'm looking at like wrist to elbow. Those should be opposing, and then you're breaking up things in sections. So even down here compared to here. So it's like everything is moving in some type of different direction, which then could make your poses interesting. Um, okay. The other one was the teacher.
Yes, the Stern elementary teacher. But Patty also said, great tip. Thank you so much. That sounds helpful for storyboarding too.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see. A teacher, a stern math teacher.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Was your math teacher
No,
Stern?
my math teachers were not nice. I remember I had a homework assignment, like 35 questions, and I didn't do two of them because I didn't know. So she came over and crumbled my paper and threw it away. I was like, dang,
Wow.
well, I'm done doing math.
Yes. Also, as David draws, we're going to come to a close pretty soon. So if anybody wants to, put their hat on to ask some more questions live or want to show David some of your work, you can, put your name in the chat and then we can call you on the stage.
Change brushes. Just thinking about this, where I would go. I'm trying to think of someone I maybe have seen or just something, some reminder without even looking at reference. Because not that I will get bogged down in reference.
Uh-huh.
When I pull up reference, I tend to start sketching from it, and I look for main key points. Like, all right,
Uh-huh.
maybe they have like this little best. That's what I'm thinking right now. Just anything to help accentuate that point. But then I really focus on those things instead of diving down, designing 20, 30 different costumes. I rather have 20, 30 different interesting designs that I can dress up later. Um, which, let's see. All right, so stern. All right, I'm shrinking my page a little. It's easier. Huge thing. If you work in thumbnail size or smaller, it's way easier to see everything as a whole instead of all the tiny details, which if you work very large, it's really hard to also catch proportions and just any, you get stuck on all the things that don't matter. It's the overall picture. Let's see.
And when you're done sketching, we have a couple people who want to ask you some questions.
Okay, I am going to rough this out. Come back. Okay, I think I was drawing this nerdy person not too long ago. I don't know what it's reminded me of.
He does look
Oh,
stern.
yeah, I'm trying to. So what I will tend to do is I'll try to figure out one drawing and screw up a lot, and then I will take this drawing and then just start pulling and pushing this stuff until um, something just starts to speak to me.
I like his sweater though.
What kind of hair would he have?
Reminds me
Must have
like one of those Saturday morning cartoon, um, also like in the comic newspaper comics too.
Oh my, yeah.
You can see from his arm, he's very stern. Even his nose is disapproving.
Let's see. His pants. He's always ready in the morning. Like, where can I push things? With a fatter belly.
It's so fascinating to see this. While you're drawing this, we can see where you're thinking about the different parts of the body.
Yeah, this, just seeing my terrible rough doodle. Hmm. You get dressed for school? Maybe. I notice some people with what are they called? Soul patches.
Mm-hmm.
Not very polite. like little whispers. Sure. And I know some people will flip their drawings. I don't tend to all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes like, I draw something and when I flip it, I was like, that looks horrible. That was not what I expected. It's the same as mirrors. Sometimes, you take a selfie or you're looking at things in the mirror, you flip it, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't mean for my hair to look like that.
Oh yeah, it's true. Oh, I don't want him looking at whatever kid he might be. I mean, because I was even thinking of doing this. He's just yelling. We need to simplify that. And does he have like all this fat that's just stuck there? Not sure. I know he needs glasses.
From all the math equations.
Does he have
Oh,
like a tiny little mustache? All these math equations. But I'm still trying to keep in mind all these things too. Like even here, it's like,
yeah.
okay, well, I know this fold will help show that there's like this skin's being really pulled far down.
Mm,
And then this line here is to help break that up as well. So it's one, not alone, but it's extra fat, but it's also asymmetrical compared to that
yeah.
line.
I think that's the thing too. When we draw things that, oh, this person is thin, this person is fat, we tend to forget about different types as well too. Because even if you watch, sometimes I watch like, oh, plastic surgery on YouTube, and I'm just like, oh my god, I didn't know all these things like these folds could go so many ways.
Oh, yeah. Plastic surgery.
Yeah, like there's a lot now when they're talking about like plastic surgeons explaining, oh, do they think kids are doing more plastic surgery, or even like celebrities, what have they done to their faces? And they show the faces of celebrities over the years, and they're like, oh, look at Demi Moore. She used to look like this. Now in the middle she looked like this, and now she looks like this because she could have done like a facelift. And I'm just like, whoa, how can you even tell? But I mean, it's their occupation. But to me, I find it fascinating because, it's like when you're looking at the different things going on social media, things with filter, sometimes like you
Yeah.
don't see some of the details are a little bit lost. Like you said, when you're looking at persons, and and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, oh, cool, I can see like this is like not a wrinkle, but this is like how my face moves when it smiles. And then when I look
Oh,
at like my friends, some of them like in Thailand, there's a lot of plastic surgery as well too. And when they smile, it's like, oh, your forehead's not moving. That must be Botox.
okay. I don't.
I think you're doing great, David. I think that looks really cool.
Well, I wanted to. Well, thank you. I'm like trying to figure this out, and maybe I'm overthinking it right now, but it's like I want this little tiny little fluff of hair on the top of his head to feel
Uh,
like a piece of crap.
like he woke up this morning and he didn't do anything to his hair. Like it just tumbled
Yeah,
right
but
out.
but I was thinking of like the poop emoji. It sounds wild, but I was really
Oh,
thinking to myself,
oh,
how do I try to get that into his hair if his hair's like kind of fluffy, just
poopy.
so. But not really sure. I think that would take some
Oh, that
thinking.
does look like a poop. You can have it pointing, like towards even where the nose is pointing. Like if you have it like kind of curved downwards as well too, everything is disapproving.
Oh, that is true.
But I love the shape that you've come up with because I mean, just now we had like, the base geometry of something that looks like a sack. And now you've just given it a little bit more definition with your curve and straights that you mentioned before.
Yeah, I would have probably kept this.
Mm,
I need to. I'm trying to think of a way to where I like even his arm. This is going back to like the Walt Stansfield thing. Is I want his arm to really stand out. I need everything to head that way.
mm,
So even like his book, I'm like, okay, well,
yeah. Like the
how
pointing
do I?
focus.
Yeah, I think I might need to move that book somewhere, somewhere over here. How would he hold this book? Uh,
Yeah, even the pattern on the sweater is like angular.
yeah, I that's that's always one of those basic design things. Like circles are friendly. I can tell you, I never really think about like that super basic design rule. But I get why it's said. I mean, it makes sense. You're talking about like you know, back in the day, Neanderthals and people were coming over a hill with spears. The first thing you're gonna want to spot out is do they have weapons and spears,
Yeah.
you know?
Even
That's the whole
what's
point.
that Pixar movie where feelings have feelings? Uh feelings have feelings. Darn it. Somebody tell me, like, write that down. What that name of that movie? Inside Out. Yes, yes, yes. Inside Out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can see like the shape of like anger and stuff as well. And Martin says, and the handshake gesture originated as a way to show that you were unarmed. You shake hands with people so they know you're not
Oh
armed.
yeah.
Martin, that is fascinating.
Oh, smart. Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, all these little tidbits. Yeah, and then talking about design as well too. I think one of the things that really fascinated me was I was talking to one of my friend who was a character designer, and I was like, oh, okay, like he had a sketchbook full of spaceships, and I was like, wow, these spaceships are cool. How did you design them? And he was like breaking them down. He's like, oh, this area is a little bit bulkier because it probably has a kitchen. It's a type of fleet that is supposed to be on a very long trek or journey, so they need to have a kitchen here. And then this
Oh, that's
exhaust goes out here, and how many people are in the spaceship? And I was like, damn, every time I drew a spaceship, it was just like, oh, look, it's a spaceship. I never thought about how they lived in the spaceship or what they actually need. So, my husband is a history buff. And so my husband
mm.
was also like, oh, yeah, if you look at these Apollo, blah, 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 you'll see that these are designed so they have like spaces where astronauts can do this and that. And I was just like, that is a great way to kind of inform your design decisions as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. He's really thinking everything out. Story. It's always storytelling. It's like number one thing.
Absolutely. I think like even the fact that, when people look at aesthetics, like here when you're doing character design, sometimes we think it's about aesthetics, but a lot of things is about the appeal of the characters in the story and how their characteristics kind of facilitate that storytelling as well too. Wow,
Oh,
that
oh,
looks fantastic.
I needed to pull this down. It was bothering me.
Yeah. But I mean, wow, yeah, I can see now where everything is kind of pointing to one direction. I feel really sorry for whoever's on the end of this teacher's stern lecture. And Thomas Duval said, "Wow, cool, no empathy."
No, heck no. I should have had him throwing the book at a kid.
Yeah.
That would probably be
Oh
better.
no, that this is fantastic. Do you have time to kind of take a look, take some questions, and take a look at some of our stuff here?
Oh, of course.
Perfect. So we're first up, we're gonna have Allie. And let's have Allie come up to speak with us. Hey, Allie. Please go ahead. Come up, come up. Invite has been sent. So see if you can click on it and come up and chat with us.
I'm gonna take it off the screen share.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Okay. Ali, are you able to come up on stage with us? Show requests. Invitation sent. Ali, are you able to? Let me go ahead. One second. It might be you've requested and let's see, Patty has requested. And maybe let's see here. Cancel, chat. Oh, what does she press on? So Ali, if you're able to press on the right side of the screen, there should be one. It says like invite to speak. So I pressed invite to speak. Let me see if I can try inviting Alyssa and see if Alyssa can do that first, and I'll invite Patty as well too. See if you. Sweet. Yeah. So Ali on the chat, if you can try request to speak again. But if it's good, Alyssa, you can. Oh, here we go, Ali. See if you got an invitation, Ali. Alyssa, do you want to go ahead first while we troubleshoot?
Space in depth or more in a sense of putting in a gesture and then adding the character because I find that if I lean one way too much it just looks kind of awkward and off and I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I no matter how I'm drawing, I tend to, other than right now, I like to just block out really big shapes, but I try to think of everything as like stick figures. It sounds crazy, but I just want everything to be as basic as it can. And then for poses, I've learned uh, the biggest thing to help with poses is to learn rhythm, um, rhythm, angles, and twist. I think I call it like the art rule, but it's something I actually pulled from Glenn Keane, which he got from Freddie Moore, and that's why his drawings they just feel so alive. But angles will help with poses, but it, let me see. Can I go back to screen sharing?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead.
It's sometimes it's so hard to explain things. I could never learn like that. It was tough. Even reading emails, like, oh, I need to see it. Okay. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I would say grab a big thick brush. So if I had, let me pull away first. We'll just block out some shapes. Oh, the most important line ever is this line. Where do you put it? Because this simple line also will indicate what your um, upper torso is, and it shows also what your pelvis is doing. And it helps because if you were to ever just repeat this circle, let's just say it was, you know, up high. I guess we could do up high. I know the legs are going to fit into that bottom section somehow. I'm just doing. Or even low. Well, the arms are now fitting in the top somewhere, whatever they're also doing. So fit in there. There's still no details. If it's up here, then it's almost the same size as his head. Um, let's see. So I know I have this shape, and then I got the circle. In this circle, everything can squash and stretch. So whatever it might be, let's say he's reaching up for something. I might even draw just a simple hand like that. Because even with hands, I've learned you can just use stick figures. If you draw a circle, like the way I really figured out hands was Mickey Mouse. It sounds nuts, but it made sense to me. And then later it was like, okay, well, even if I draw stick figures, I can then just build on top of that those shapes and just know that they're tubes. They're tubes going into something, whatever they might be.
Martin said
Um,
drawing the gesture of the hand tends to be easier, he learned.
yeah, always. So I did an angle here, or I could change that angle there. Stretch it. I can even keep the same shape. I'm still thinking stick figures. And then I'm also looking at the asymmetry. One foot's going that way, one's going that way, leg. I got this huge angle. Get rid of that so we can really push this.
Looks like a time bomb. Sorry, like a bomb.
Maybe. We can have his arms literally doing anything at this point. I mean, the main bases are there. We got the legs, the body, and I know where that waist is. If I want, I can tilt that too. Um, and then the head, the arms. I can literally have them doing kinds of things. Hello, everybody. So, I mean, there's so many different options now at this point to help tell that story. If I want to put this arm up, I want to have this arm on the side. It's still stick figures. I'm not into designing yet. There's no details. It's like the main points. So the head, the body, the legs. And I usually have an idea what I'm gonna do with the arms beforehand before I do a pose. But just know those you can change. You can move all around. You want to focus on those other 3 points. And then angles. So that's like a huge one. If you want to make really strong poses, yeah, just focus on having these things go in different positions or creating some asymmetry.
That's awesome, David. Also, I know Ali, who wasn't able to get on, was asking, like, do you have a favorite style of drawing?
No, no, actually, no, it's just a
Or
feeling thing.
Or was there any favorite styles that you've worked in so far?
Um, Probably Ruby Gilman, Teenage
Oh,
Kraken.
Ruby Gilman.
Yeah, that well because of its simplicity. I gotta work
Oh, that's true. Just for everybody on Discord, is your Discord projecting screen properly? Dream Station said they're tuning in on YouTube just in case. It might be some folks' bandwidth issue. But also, Ali did mention that the movie was so cute. Loved the trend of the more cartoony 3D animation as well. And I think Patty, did you want to show your work? Anything? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I see your Instagram. Do we want to pull up the Instagram? Okay. I think Patty, you yeah, see if you can share your screen. Okay. David, are you able to click on her Instagram link and share your screen on the chat? Yeah, it's a yeah. No worries, we can try. Oh, thank you, Dream Station. Dream Station said they're just gonna be on YouTube for because there was like the little glitch, so they're bouncing back and forth. Yeah, we're definitely going to be improving our stream, guys. So, any feedback is absolutely appreciated, as well as we're going to be running through, rewatching some of this stuff to check on what's glitching, what's not. Oh, that looks fantastic. Let's see.
Because I feel like the shape wise, she might still look generic, in my opinion. Or is there a way that I can make her more memorable?
Ooh, um, that's a tough one. Only reason why is because it's based off of an already existing design.
Yeah. How would
What's
you draw her, though? David, we took her.
That's a good question. Let's see. Glasses, an armband. She looks like she's in boxing shorts, sneakers, ponytail. Hmm.
This is based on Patty. Patty is the one speaking right now, so I think she's Spider Patty herself. Patty, can you tell David a little bit about yourself? So yeah, he has some ideas of like your personality.
Oh yes, I mean, uh, I would I would say that I'm usually like a bubbly person, so I want this character to be kind of energetic. And I'm originally from Thailand, so I
Mhm.
want to add like her skills is also boxing, Thai boxing, and usually I have a really puffy hair, ponytail. So that's also why I added that as well. I like to wear a cap because I go out, like walking around a lot. So
Okay.
yeah.
Her, um, her head's tilted up. That's the only thing. 'Cause I'm seeing something I would do. These are just like this isn't a stylistic choice. It's more taken something that I've heard from in life. My buddy, um, his name's Dan. He's from New York, and he told me that people in New York they tend to pull the lids on their hat all the way down to where you can't see their eyebrows. You only see their eyes. And I'm just starting to my head. It's like okay, I know you're bubbly, but you're also Spider Girl. So it's like, well, how do you you, you don't want to be noticed. You don't want to stand out. So do you pull your hat down to where you can only see part of your eye? The only thing is this head it's tilted up. That's why I'm like going back and forth here, trying to figure out how I can get that eye under there. I'm gonna have to bring the head down almost more straight, especially here. As you can see, I'm already hitting drawing problems. You have hips, smaller chin. Just thinking something very specific. So you're saying bubbly. I want to give you a softer chin area. Oh, is your hair
Bushy?
a big thing? We can push that for contrast. Her neck might be breaking. I think it might be too far back. Yeah. I can just feel that. I like kinesthetics, that like the whole drawn to life. Oh, it got in my head. Like, to feel a pose, like her head might be breaking because of how far it's pulled over that shoulder. It's so subtle, but okay, but still, I'm gonna just keep going. Um, the hoodie's important. That hoodie in there.
It's awesome listening to your thought process as well. So thank you. That's really helpful.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure this out.
And I think it's okay if it doesn't, look or feel like Patty, because this is your interpretation of going off of barely any information. And I think it's always fun to see, artists do their own take on something as well too.
So true.
Yeah. Um, and that's like one of the things I go right to is yeah. How do I use that cap?
Mm.
What can you do that's just very, very specific? Um, let's see. So she boxes. She's using her legs a lot and her calves because she's climbing. The reason why I'm focusing on those things, I remember I was designing Flash for DC Super Pets. I missed an opportunity. Oh my goodness. So I was over at Hasbro and I was talking with my production designer. His name's Scott Cito. And he was telling me about this bug he learned about that it moves so fast that when it jumps, its facial features will get pulled back and everything will slowly just start to stretch on it. I was like, oh my goodness, that would have been great because like when I was drawing the Flash, I had everything like very. I was trying to pull it, but I could have pulled it farther. But I had like the eyes, I believe, like up here. Every everything was very uh, pointed. however it was. But I should have had the eyes, like way back. I should have been pulling everything.
The mouth.
Like, oh, because he's going so fast. I was like, oh, there was like such a good moment, and I missed it. So thinking like here, it's like, okay, well, if she's boxing and climbing and doing all that, then maybe her shorts are like really tight. Um, she has bigger calves.
And I can see you
Just to
applying the
add.
same thing that you mentioned when you were doing legs just now as well too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think. Are you talking about the asymmetry type
Yes,
stuff?
the asymmetry, but also remember when you're also talking about the arm, where you one side is a straight line, but the other side you just give it a little bit of volumetrics by pulling out just
Oh yeah,
slightly.
yeah, yeah.
So I can see that with the pants as well too, where like one side is like tighter, the other side has a little bit just to give it a little bit of volume.
Yeah, it's all these things like just do intuitively that I've learned from rules, but now it's just uh, when I get to drawing now, I mean, for the first like 10 years, I was constantly trying to keep all these things in my head. And I had to get to that point where I let go. Just let go, see what you know, see what you do, and look at it later and make adjustments then. Maybe because I know she has wristbands on all four limbs, so maybe she doesn't. Maybe she has on one leg, maybe the other one there isn't, because maybe she kicks with her right leg, and that's it. But it's something now specific instead of her looking very asymmetrical all the way down the line. Or she even has armbands that go all the way up here, and then over here she has, maybe one here, maybe not on the wrist. I'm gonna pull this hat down more.
I see the hoodie rope.
These are like subtle things. I could even really push that tricep there. So just thinking pose. Let's see. That hand. I'm thinking about arcs too. That's how you can line things up. You draw arcs. Maybe she's looking up. Since she's in such an action pose, maybe you pull that line down so it looks like she's kind of, getting ready for action. Her eyebrows are pulled. I just want like really just stronger angles.
Wow, that's great.
Um, feel like she should be looking that way, like as if she were, making that gesture towards someone,
Directional.
like almost like a she just got away. Oh, that shape underneath. See it?
Thomas Duval said, "How about more muscular, voluptuous thighs and leg calf? Been working out those legs."
Yeah. I mean, if she's boxing,
I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget too is that when you're exercising, you do grow like muscles. Because I have a friend who
yeah,
does, she teaches pole dancing and also does Pilates. And then sometimes like people think, that, oh, it's like more like it's smooth and stuff. But I was like, look at those muscles when she crunches. Like on a normal basis, you don't really see much. But then, when they're really exercising and exerting themselves, you can definitely see those muscle groups.
it's true. Yeah, it becomes very prominent. But I mean, on one end though, too, we're drawing cartoons, so we need to overemphasize things to make them clear.
Yes.
And I had an old teacher who said every drawing you're making act like you're showing a 5-year-old.
Mm.
Because if they don't understand what they're looking at, then no one else is going to either. So it should be that clear, whatever it is. Um, okay. Other than this arm, like if her head was that way, I still think somehow she needs to look back. Oh, like she got away, and she's like, "See ya," like I'm out of here, and I'm just trying to find angles and everything. Well, especially poses.
Patty says
But
that's amazing. Well, I mean, Patty can say it herself.
Yes, thank you. My jaw is dropped. This is it's really like great to see your thought process thinking about the function of that cap and like the muscles and how she used her body so that that would impact the design of the character. So yeah, that's really helpful.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
That's fantastic, David. I think this looks great. So I think we really thank you so much for your time and the day. And of course, before we leave and everything, I would love to emphasize that David currently has a Kickstarter going on with his book, Character Design Essentials. A lot of the stuff he's talking about today is even better in his upcoming book. So I would love, if you guys have an ability to support him or share this out with friends of yours that you think would benefit, because it's not just character designing. People who are in love with storyboards and things as whatnot as well too. Anybody could use the idea of the design essentials as well too. And so you can see here, I just quickly pulled up on our Facebook, no, sorry, Facebook, on our YouTube, the Design Essentials Volume 1. You can go take a look. It's at $8,000 out of 10K now. So it's just, $2,000 more dollars until this 100-page guide becomes a reality. So, David, can you tell us a little bit about, the passion behind this book so that everybody knows, where this is coming from?
Yeah. When I was scary even chatting with him because I'm giving away everything that I have learned over 10 years, and I'm trying to condense it and get it to a point where everything is so simple that anybody can learn it. Um, I put um, 2 pages together. I'm just going back, rewriting things, making sure everything is as clear as it can be. So I have. I'm still screen sharing, yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, okay. Yep, now you're screen sharing.
Oh, okay. So here's 4 pages here, but even like talking about eyeballs, and I mean this is just one page on eyes. I know 100 pages seems very small, but everything is going to be like this. It's very condensed, but if you have a question, hopefully it should be in there. Um, the second volume is gonna cover a lot more different things, and hopefully I want to get into animals and stuff like that. But this should generalize everything, so you can get to work and learn how to push yourself. So it's talking about the volume on pupils and eyeballs and how they work, and because that was one thing I struggled with, and I still see it in people's artwork now. Is just to pay attention to your pupils, that it's sitting on a sphere and how that works, and we can tend to lose focus on that. This is something that took me forever to learn. Was this like soft cube theory, and it came down to like just drawing heads. Was no matter how crazy a head is. So if I have a head like that, if I have even a realistic head like this, I know things can also get very confusing when trying to learn all this, because it's like there's a plane there and there's a plane there. Then you have this eye mask. That might be, yeah, the nose. You have this bridge up here. And everything just gets very, it's, there's a circle in here and the mouse sits on. It's like, okay, I get it, but if you had to boil it all down, there is really only this simple thing of there's a top plane up here. Let me got these drawings real quick. The plane up there, there's a plane here, and there's a plane that goes around the side over there. And as long as you know that, then you know that the front features go on the front. You know the ear goes on the side. And it's like this with the body and all kinds of other features. But then I'll also go in and start breaking it apart, like how the mouth works and the type of shape that you can use and how many planes are on it. Because depending on planes is very important in drawing. It can help with, you know, creating different mouth shapes and learning where those changes of direction are, why those happen, and how the teeth fit. And we go over teeth, we go over the tongue, talk about the realistic nose and how there's, different planes. And, then how do you caricaturize it and the different types of caricaturizing. And I try to pull it every tiny little thing apart so you can then rearrange it and push. Eyes too. How we start with circle eyes, something I picked up from the Illusion of Life, because it's the easiest form that you can squash and stretch, and it can do anything instead of drawing or starting off with a crazy shape. I mean, as long as you know there's a circle under there and the shape is working over that circle, because that circle is your guide for drawing pupils, and getting those to fit on the eyeball. So, and then, there's a basis to everything somewhere. There's an underlying idea of why things are done, not just copying things for the sake of building habits, but learning why. So even here, started talking about how you can apply even some of the fundamentals to eye shapes, straights and curves and tapers and things like that. So they're not just random shapes, but there's a purpose. So, and this is just 4 pages. Um, so
Wow.
there's a lot of information, and I know it's kind of crazy. I'm not trying to create competition, but I believe everybody should learn this. So that way, hopefully, everyone can then join along and let's push everything. Take the character design.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you so much again, David. You know, it's been an absolute fantastic session with you. Everybody, if you could please give David a round of applause. Yeah, thank you, David. Everybody says you've been super amazing with the stuff as well, too. And I would, oh, no, thank you, Alyssa. Yeah. And I would also say that for everybody, you know, I hope you enjoyed the session. We're definitely going to be doing more online sessions later. Don't forget to check out David's Kickstarter. This is his, you know, baby coming out. He's been very, very generous with us at his time as well, too. And for those of you who are interested in our upcoming events with ASIFA, don't forget to check out asifa-south.com. We have a lot of things like on the 12th, Malcon at the Milton Library is coming up. So we're going to be doing a storyboarding workshop. It's free. So, you know, bring your kids if it's possible. We're actually doing one right now, starting like today, tomorrow, and the day after, and that's at the Joan P. Gardner Library. That's also free. We also have our mixer, our in-person mixer, every last Wednesday of the month. Upcoming is going to be our compositor, Dave Michael, who's our next guest. So you can sign up on that. That's also free as well too. And the animation summit that is coming up on next month on the 12th. That's going to be something that ASIFA is going to be working with the animation submit folks. There's going to be a portfolio review. That one's not free, but we will have discounts for our member because that is a partner event as well too. So thank you everybody for so much of your time. And before we, you know, leave David today, David, I do have a little quick thing that I would love you to do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to name as many Disney animation as possible, or this time we can also include, you know, things that you've actually worked on as well too, not just Disney. So any type of animation. So now we're gonna go with, okay, 3, 2, 1, start. Let's see. Yes. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. 1 second. We'll give you a last one. We'll give you one last one. Okay, I'll give you 14. You named 14 things. Great job, David, even though you said your mind was blank. Thank you so much for today's session, and everybody, you can catch this live stream on recording again on our YouTube, so please do that. Thank you so much. David, any last words for folks? Can you say that again? What's that? CRA0LA. That's it? Okay. So C as in a CRAOLA. Zero. Oh, whoops. Okay, 0LA. So again, CRA0LA. Thank you so much for today, David. That's been amazing.